Good afternoon, class, and welcome to chapter 9.5, factor x squared plus bx plus c. So b and c here obviously represent numbers. Okay, so we're going to learn how to factor that now. So we're almost working backwards. For example, we've been working with FOIL or box method. So when you FOIL or box method, you know, x plus 4 and x plus 3, you got x squared plus 7x plus 12. Now they're going to be giving you the trinomial, the x squared plus 7x plus 12, and asking you to find what should be inside the parentheses. So we're kind of working backwards from what we've been doing. So let's get started. So factor when b and c are positive. So it's very important. It's kind of a rule here. So let's write this out. The rule is this: if c is positive, okay, so if c is positive, the sign that is going to be inside of the parentheses is going to be the sign that's in front of the b. So if c is positive, both of my signs inside of my parentheses will both be plus then. Okay, so again, let me say that again. It's very important you write this down. If c is positive, so if there's an addition sign in front of that c, then the sign that's in front of the b will appear in both of the parentheses. So take a look at this. So we have x squared plus 11x plus 18. So we start to think about what could be inside our parentheses. So the first thing is this. Well, I see that c is a plus. So I'm going to follow the sign that's in front in both of my parentheses. So I have plus plus. Now, what makes up the front of my parentheses is what is created here. So how do I get x squared? Well, I get x squared by multiplying x times x. So the first part of that trinomial makes up the front part of my parentheses. So then the back side of my parentheses, what goes in here? Well, that's when we look at our c. What we're going to do is find the factors of c. We're going to list them. So factors of c: 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. Okay? Now, factors of c, we have three different choices here. We're going to look, after we find the factors, we're going to add our factors. So 1 plus 18 equals 19. 2 plus 9 equals 11. And 3 plus 6 equals 9. Now, after we add our factors together, we're going to look and see what the middle term is on our equation, which is 11. So I know my factors inside my parentheses must be 2 and 9. Okay, or 9 and 2. Doesn't matter which order they go in. But after you solve this, you should check with FOIL again, or box method, just to double check your 2 parentheses equals your trinomial. Okay, so let's look at another one here. So a squared plus 7a plus 10. So first thing I always do is I create my parentheses. I notice that c is a plus, so I'm going to follow the first sign, which is plus plus. I'm going to see in the front part of my parentheses is what's made up in the front, which is a times a. Then I find factors of 10, which are 1 and 10, and 2 and 5. Then I add them together. And I see that 7 is my middle term, so I know that it is 2 and 5. or 5 and 2. Use FOIL, use box method to double check your work. So what happens when B is negative and C is positive? Well, I told you before, if your C is positive, you follow the first sign. So C is positive, follow the first sign in both your parentheses. So now I'm going to have a minus minus. Okay? Same thing. We're going to treat this the same. If our signs are the same inside our parentheses, we're going to treat it the same way. We're going to find the factors of C and then add them together and try to get that middle term. And I have that middle term of 6, so my factors are 2 and 4. And then what makes up the front term is n times n is n squared. Okay? So if the signs are the same inside the parentheses, treat them the same way. So we have my C is a plus. Follow the signs here. T goes in the front here, t squared. Let's look at the factors of 12. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Add them together. And you don't have to do this each time. Once you find your answer, you can stop. But I'll show you. So the middle term is an 8. So 2 and 6. Okay, double check, try it out. I know that t times t is t squared. T times negative 6 is negative 6t. Negative 2 times t is negative 2t, which gives me negative 8t. And then negative 2 times negative 6 is a positive 12. Okay, so you can see going back and forth here. If that C is a plus, follow the sign in front of the B in both of your parentheses. So this is a little bit different now. We're going to factor when B is positive and C is negative. So now we have C negative. When C is negative, we're going to have opposite signs inside our parentheses. Okay? So the same thing's going to occur in front of our parentheses. We have y and we have y. Find the factors now. Same kind of steps. Find the factors. 1 and 15, 3 and 5. Now, since the signs are different, we're going to subtract them. So, I see that this is my answer. So I need 5 and 3 to go inside my parentheses. Now, I have to put my largest factor between 5 and 3 with the plus sign since my B is a plus. So 5 here and 3 here. So 5 with the plus because my B is a plus. Okay, so 5 minus 3 is 2. Okay, so let's see this again. I see my C is negative, so I know automatically inside my parentheses I have different signs. I know that M makes up the front part of my parentheses. Whatever this front term is makes up the front part, m times m. Factors of 20, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Now subtract them. I get 5 minus 4 is 1, 10 minus 2 is 8, 20 minus 1 is 19. Well, here, my middle term, my B, is a positive 1, so I'm going to go with 4 and 5. 5 must go with the plus sign because my B is a plus, and the minus is a 4. Okay, so the main thing is looking at C, making sure your signs are correct inside of your parentheses. Okay, that middle term right now, or that front term in both your parentheses should be somewhat easy right now because it's just a variable squared, so you can split that. Okay, it's that second term inside our parentheses we've got to make sure we have correct. So if the signs are the same, you can see minus minus. We're going to add their factors to try to get that middle term. If our signs are different, we're going to subtract them to get that middle term. And your largest factor has to go with the sign with the B. So here's some more examples. I say C is negative here, so plus minus, W squared, so W times W, 1 times 16, 2 times 8, 4 times 4. So my signs are different, so I'm going to subtract them. I get 15, I get 6, I get 0. Well, I see that my b is 6, so I'm going to use 2 and 8. Well, 6 is a positive, so I'm going to use 8 and 2. So here, same thing, c is negative, plus minus. Y squared is made up by y times y. 1 times 10, 2 times 5. You get 9 and you get 3. My middle term is 3, so I'm going to use 5 and 2. So 5 and 2. Okay. So now, solving a polynomial equation. I only get 15 minutes and we're already at 10:45, so I'm going to kind of move this somewhat quickly. This is supposed to be squared here, so let me rewrite that. Okay, this is going back to what we kind of learned on Thursday. Is we're going to get, so I'm going to set this equal to 0, similar to what we learned yesterday, if there's an equal sign. So we're going to subtract 18, so we rewrite this, x squared plus 3x minus 18 equals 0. Now don't worry about this side yet. Okay, we're going to factor this first. So c is negative, so we know that's going to be plus minus. X squared is made up by x times x. 18, 1 and 18. 2 and 9, 6 and 3. And they're different signs, so we're going to subtract them. I get 17, I get 7, and I get 3. I see my middle term is 3, so I'm going to use 6 and 3. And my sign in the middle is a plus, so I'm going to use 6 and 3. Now, since it's set equal to 0, we're going to do the same thing we learned. Okay, is we're going to set each of these equal to 0. Add 3, subtract 6, x equals 3, or x equals negative 6. Okay? So the main thing from this video that I want you to get is to really understand about setting and creating the two sets of parentheses and what signs go in the middle, and knowing when it's the same sign, a minus minus, we add the factors of c to get our middle term, and if our signs are different, plus minus, we find our factors of c and we subtract them to get our b. Okay, main things. And if you have something with a equal sign, we set it equal to 0 first, and then we factor it and set our parentheses equal to 0 and solve from there. And you'll get some solutions. Okay, I don't have any homework on this one, right? Because there's a lot of information here. I would almost recommend watching this twice to fully understand, because you really have to understand this, and then we're going to include more into trying to factor. So make sure you have this grasp of this introduction extremely well. You may want to watch it twice again. So again, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.